Welcome to this week's Between the Posts. I'm your host, Sammy Javor, and he's back for the second time this year. I'm joined by our Div 3 expert, Tim Pillion. Welcome, mate.
Thanks, Tommy.
Great to have you here, mate. Now, just briefly, I don't want to take away from your Div 3 wrap, but last night, 73 years in the making, a 440 game, you were at Henley for Henley you were at Lockleys for Lockleys versus Henley. How was it?
It was fantastic. So, top of the table clash, Henley versus Lockleys, first versus second. First time these two clubs have ever played in an A-grade division. They've played lots of juniors together, but the crowd and the atmosphere, 440 clash into the twilight. There was easily 1,500 to 2,000 people there around the ground and in the club rooms last night, and I'll give you a little bit more details later on.
Fantastic. I know Rob Curnow sitting at home, the footy manager, doing 1,500. We licensed 1,500, so there's 1,500 there. They weren't all in the bar, though. No, beautifully done, mate. As usual, the episodes will be packed with the good stuff. I'm going to have a look at Division 1. Going into the break as well, it almost feels like the halfway mark of the year. Rebecca Northcott, that Mount Lofty Devil, the fullback of the year, she's given us her Division 1 report. And, of course, the coach of the week this week comes from Division 6. What else we got, Tim?
We've got my Div 3 report, which I'm looking forward to giving, and marks and goals of the week. And a little bit later, our favourite segment where we go across all grades with what caught our eye.
Indeed, I love that one. Checking out all 7 divisions and even maybe a little visit into some B grade today, who knows. Look, we really enjoy you viewing us each week. We'll be back with an action-packed show. Stay tuned for more Between the Posts. Division 1 wrap time. Whilst winter is upon us, the football is still hot. Plenty of excitement around Division 1. Tea Tree Gully with a 13-point win at home over Broadview. It was Tyler West, the catalyst, number 16 for the Gullies. He kicked 5 goals, well supported by his mate Brodie Latham with 3. For Broadview, Kane Flanagan, the chief protagonist, with 3 goals. Being Stream Team, there's a ton of votes, there's a ton of awards. So let's just start with the Moseley Voucher Best Team Player. That was that man, Brodie Latham. The Neo North Mouthguard Player of the Day was Chris Olsen. And the New Balance Beanie and Voucher, Belgravia, they get that many prizes. It's actually hard to keep track of it. Was that man, Tyler West. Gullies, they led by 17, 19 and 30. They were 5 goals up in the second quarter, ultimately to win by 13 points. So they did control the game all day, but Broadies kicked the first 3 of the final quarter and 5 of 6 at one point. So they were challenging, but the buffer that Tea Tree Gully had allowed them to maintain. They got within 7 Broadies, but in the end it was Latham who sealed it with a beautiful goal at the 24-minute mark.
Red and black blood. Never played for anyone except Tea Tree Gully. A chance to seal a win for his beloved Wolves. From 30 out, in front.
The commentators said it was an entertaining game, and as someone, all 3 of us, Tony Neal, Phil Hurd, myself, we all said we thought Broadview would make the 5 and Tea Tree Gully wouldn't. Well, based on this performance, we may just have it wrong. Tea Tree Gully now 4 and 4 are looking the goods. Let's have a look at our Player of the Year votes. It was 1 vote to Cody Tape, 2 votes to Brodie Latham, and 3 votes to Westy for his best on-ground performance. Special mention to Steve Jackson, who continues a stellar year for Broadview, and Cooper O'Leary were among their best. But the Gullies, I tell you what, they're a team to be taken very, very seriously. Next up, well, I love my statistical anomalies. Here's an anomaly for you. Port District 13-13, Brighton 13-13, 91. A draw. Now, this is the interesting part. Port played Brighton Girls, and they also had a draw. I'm not sure how many times that would have happened in their existence, but well done. You always ask who's the winner and who's the loser out of the draw. Well, Brighton were playing away, so I think they certainly would have taken the 2 points in this one. The player we're going to have a look at in footage is Joey Haynes for Port District, who continues a very consistent season. The goal kickers, it was Cockatoo Collins with 4 for Port, whilst 4 Brighton. Wellesby kicked 4, and Will Rivers, he is super consistent and a real Team of the Year candidate with his 3 goals. Looking at some of the commentators' notes, it was Brighton by 14 points at the quarter break, 22 at the half, but then Port District came out in the third quarter, the premiership quarter, to take an 8-point final quarter change lead. 9 goals between them in the last quarter. It was anyone's game. It was really good. I actually watched the end of this game this morning. It's up on our socials, and it was really close. You see Port District running into the 50 as the siren goes, but in the end, it was a draw. Both teams had their chance to win in the final minute, both of them going into the 50. But again, good structuring up by Mouse. Brett Backwell, the coach, had a spare player behind the ball that stopped Port's forward foray. Who's the winner? Who's the loser out of this? Well, Brighton move out of the relegation zone. That's huge. And this draw now takes percentage out the equation. So this one was absolutely crucial for the Bombers. Well done. Better players that won't get in the votes for Port. Monty Sash was outstanding, whilst for Brighton, Tyson Brook appears for the first time. The votes, though, it was 1 vote to captain Otis Carthy. Again, super consistent. Seems to be the best players most weeks for Brighton. 2 votes to Jake Tarker. And best on ground, the man we've had a bit of a look at, was Joey Haynes. Well done to Brighton. They've played Port District twice already in what's a bit of a strange outline to the draw, but they've been very competitive both times with a draw and a 1-goal loss. Let's look at our next game at Harpers Field. It was Golden Grove versus Sacred Heart. Golden Grove 10-7-67, Sacred Heart 10-12-72. Our player in focus, strangely, or it's not that strange because he was fantastic, comes from the team that wasn't victorious. We're going to have a look at number 23, Lewis Johnson for Golden Grove. For Golden Grove was Cavallaro and Patterson with 3 goals each, whilst for the Shockers it was a good spread with Fox, McAuliffe and Moore all kicking 2 goals. Golden Grove, well, they've actually struggled adapting to Division 1. Obviously, it's a huge step from 2 to 1. They went through, I think, 3 and 2 undefeated, just smashing teams. But it was Golden Grove by 19, 5 and 24 points at 3/4 time. Now, at 3/4 time for Golden Grove, you're entitled to start thinking, oh, yep, this is going to be our 3rd win. We're going to be a game out the 5. We're just starting to come good now. We're adapting. But in the final quarter, the Sacred Heart Div 1 experience of the last couple of years held them in good stead, and they dominated. 4-7 to just 2 points. It was a really good game of football, but Sacred Heart ran over the top of it at the end. What we want to have a look at right now, though, from Golden Grove, it's Kane Horskin with the Jag Meatworks snag of the day.
Got Payne with him. Pittman goes long, searching ball right at the back there. Can they get... Oh! There's your snag of the week! What an absolute ripping! Jack's... There's your snag of the day. And what an unbelievable goal.
All right, let's have a look at some of the stats, the Dartfish stats, which are fantastic. Disposals 288 to 266 in Golden Grove's favour. And again, 28 more marks. They do chip it around and possess the ball. Hit-outs, well, Brodie Noble was fantastic. 67 to 36 along with Coach Colotto. And that led to a clearance deficiency of 6 more clearances to Sacred Heart, 14 to 20. Tackles, this just speaks to the intent and how hungry both teams were. 170 combined tackles, 89 to 81. A good, tough game. No wonder the commentators enjoyed it. And the final stat, I think this one probably speaks to why they had more scoring shots. The inside 50s, whilst only being 38 to 35, once again, it's the efficiency. 45% for Golden Grove, Sacred Heart 63%. Golden Grove just not getting that final kick into the forward 50 the way they'd like it. The better players that didn't make the votes, Mitch Slater in ruck for his 2 goals for Golden Grove was fantastic. Whilst for Sacred Heart, Ethan Moore, another great game with 20 touches. Brodie Noble, 37 hit-outs. And Rankin, 25 touches and 9 tackles. Interesting to note that the standouts that were chosen by Matt Gale were exactly the same as the one chosen by Alex Colotto. Let's have a look at these votes, and Jake Pittman continues to be one of the best footballers in the whole of Adelaide Footy League. 24 touches, but it's that work rate and desire. 12 tackles. That's a great effort. Seb Kerrish was given the 2 votes for Sacred Heart. 23 touches and 6 inside 50s. He was the one that delivered it in, and again, created those scoring opportunities, whilst our best on ground, Louis Johnson, 28 touches, 6 marks and 3 tackles. Let's look at our next game, PAC and PNU, and it was PAC 13-15-93, PNU 10-5-65. That's a 28-point win to the Reds at Park 9. Our player in focus, again, another player who's putting together quite a nice season, number 16, Lockie McNamara from the Reds. For the goal kickers, it was razzle, dazzle, brazzle. Kicking 4, he was back. He kicked all of those 4 in the first half before he ended up getting double teamed, but he really was the one to set the Reds alight. Young Jacob Campbell for PNU kicked a couple. I even got a text last night at about 11 o'clock after a few few of the sponsors' product that Razzle Dazzle's back, and watch out. So from one of my PAC friends, they were just getting a little bit excited that what might not have been might actually be. They're coming, the Reds. Look out for them. Just looking at some of the notes from Beck Northcott, who did a great job commentating the game. PAC, 6 goals in the first quarter and 5 goals in the last quarter is where they got the job done. Only 2 goals in the middle quarters. PAC took control. Payne and fought back. Mackenzie and Nunn. Just they've been great all year. They continued to try and lift PNU, but when the whips were cracking at the end, it was PAC with those 5 goals in the last quarter. Around the clearances, they were very good. They had the energy, and they had probably the best forward on the day as well, which gave them a huge leg up, and they were too good. Looking at the votes, Ollie Clark, his setup work was fantastic, kicked 2 goals, got 1 vote. Ben Siebel's in defence was outstanding, and McNamara, as you'd probably be well aware, was best on ground. Now, last one, Glenunga at Webb Oval. They win again. They go 8-0, the only undefeated team. 11-8-74, Spock 5-11-41. The man in focus, we've seen him many, many times before, is number 28, Abe Davis. He was brilliant once again with 3 goals. Jumbo Harry Prosser also with 3. HBK Michaels kicked 2 for Spock. As someone who's come through the ranks and played B grade previous years, he's developed into a very good A grade forward. So well done to Nick. Spock made a fight of it. They were up by 3 points at quarter time and 10 points at half time. And I'm sure everyone at Webb Oval short. Surely not to the bottom team. But in the premiership quarter, Glenunga flicked the switch. Glenunga 5-3 to just 2 points, and that was where the game was won and lost. They made the most of their chances, and when they get fired up, they go and they go well. They understand their strengths, they understand their weaknesses, and they understand the importance of playing team football. That's why, at the moment, they're the best team in the Adelaide Footy League. Better players for Spock, the Adonis Verotis was very good, and Ted Newman, whose name I haven't mentioned this year, played his best game of the year. Players that didn't make the votes for Glenunga, again, big Westian ruck. He's been a revelation after a couple of years of football. Arguably one of the best ruckmen in the game, and I'm having those arguments at the moment as we look at Team of the Year. Charlie Pridham and Jess Temmie, the 2021 Rams Award winner, was in the best player. The Player of the Year votes, Ed Allen from Spock, 1 vote. 2 votes to Sam Parsons, the man they call Snips, very good, putting together a good year, and Abe Davis, that man, best on ground. Okay, we have a long weekend, so we have a weekend off before we turn for the ninth stanza of the season. But let's have a look at the ladder, making some interesting reading. Glenunga, as I mentioned, on top. Shock. Port District, 4.5 wins. Of course, the 4 wins coming away from home. And then it gets tight. Teacher Gully, PNU, PAC, all on 4 and 4. Of course, the 7% difference between 4th and 6th in the percentage. Broadies 3 and 5. They're hanging in there, but it's starting to look grim. Brighton 2.5 move out of the relegation zone for the first time this year. That's great. Golden Grove 2 wins, find themselves in a relegation zone for the first time in many, many years, and Spock propping up the table on 2 wins. It is great to note though, only 2.5 wins between 3rd and bottom, and I still think Spock can beat anyone on their day. Just going to change it up now a little bit because we are having a break. We're going to have a look at some of those things like goal kickers. Interesting to note, 4 players on 16 votes in McMahon, Boris, Wagner and Latham, whilst Will Rivers revelation up forward with 17 for Brighton, and Tyler West leading the pack with 21 votes from Tea Tree Gully. A great effort there for Tyler. Now, we're returning to the voting for Player of the Year. So we're just going to put the top 5 up there. It's Broadview Steve Jackson on 6 votes, Joey Haynes on 8 votes, Chris Olsen from the Gullies on 8 votes, Matty Nunn with 9 votes, and that man with the best on ground this week, Abe Davis, moving to 13 votes. Round 9 on the 15th of June, again, another really interesting round. They all seem interesting because it's such an even and unpredictable competition. Really is a great competition to be able to talk about. Sacred Heart taking on PAC at the middle school in the Battle of the Colleges. Again, PAC are on a bit of heat lately. They are coming, but Sacred Heart at home, maybe just. Tea Tree Gully and Golden Grove, well, I just don't tip Tea Tree Gully enough, and it's time I started tipping them because they've got plenty of grunt, they're well coached, and they seem to have a pretty good balance in their team. A new midfield this year has galvanised, and I think maybe they can just play finals. Tea Tree Gully over Golden Grove for mine. St Peter's take on the visiting Port. Well, Port don't lose away. It sounds strange to say that. I'll take Port District. PNU and Glenunga. PNU, again, sitting in the 5. Someone needs to take that Glenunga scout, but I don't think it'll be PNU. Glenunga just too well drilled. And Brighton Bombers versus Broadview Tigers. This is 7th versus 8th. The winner could entertain finals. The loser really needs to start thinking about battling relegation. I don't know. It's a toss of a coin job in this one for me. It's been TJ with the Division 1 report. I'll be back in a couple of weeks with not just the Division 1 report, but the team of the half year.
Get a quick and easy low-rate car loan from Police Credit Union today.
Well, it's time to talk women's footy. I'm Beck Northcott and we'll start off with the Division 1 women's wrap. Now, we're back to the start of playing each other again, so everyone's going around for the second time. Now, looking back at round 1, all of the results are the same, but let's have a look at how it happened. Starting off with Payneham and Morphettville Park. Now, this is the grand final rematch 2.0, and Payneham have well and truly crushed those demons from the 2023 grand final with a big 42-point win over Morphettville Park. 9-8-62 Payneham to Morphettville 3-2-20. Now, in the first half, Payneham kicked 3 goals 2 and kept Morphettville scoreless. So that 3 goals 2, well, that was all Morphettville managed to kick for the whole game, and Payneham kicked that in the first quarter. And Payneham, well, after that 3-goal term, they went on to build and just kept that lead strong for the whole game and had a 3-goal third term. And they just kept Morphettville out of this game, did not give them a sniff at all. For Payneham, their goals came through Letitia Ackland with 4. She's kicked 11 for the season in 5 games, so she's absolutely firing up there. Georgina Birchall kicked 2, and there were singles to Sophie Falco, Leah Khalifa and Chloe Samuel. Now, the best on for Payneham was Georgina Birchall. This was her first appearance for the Falcons this year after her time at Norwood. For Morphettville Park, the goals came through Katie Murdoch with 2 and Tash Christophers with 1. Their best on was Minerva Bailey. Now, this win for Payneham sees them go pretty clear into second spot on the ladder. They're 6-1. They're equal with Henley, just a little bit down in percentage. Now, they're not doing a lot wrong at the moment. They're getting those wins on the board, sitting in the top 2. I'm sure they'd love to have that number 1 spot, so maybe they'll work on their percentage in the weeks to come. For Morphettville Park, well, they're sitting a bit further down in 6th spot with only 2 wins and 5 losses. Look, it's probably not their season this year, but as we know with Morphettville Park Women's, they've got plenty of trophies in the bank, plenty of success down there at the club. You know, they've got juniors galore, and I'm sure we'll see plenty of talent keep filtering through that club. So there's still plenty to like down at Morphettville. Moving on to Henley and Smosh, this game was at Shark Park. Now, leading into this game, we were looking at a top versus bottom situation, so the result really was probably as expected, maybe a little bit closer than I would have thought. But Henley 5-9-39 defeated Smosh 1-1-7, so a nice 32-point win. Now, Henley had a few inaccurate games, and I got a little bit stuck into them about that. Then they went and kicked 10 goals 3 last week against Broadview, but they were back to the 5-9 this week, so back to the kicking practice at training maybe for Henley, but still an absolutely solid win. They did manage to keep Smosh scoreless until the final term, and Henley just really building themselves up over those 4 quarters. And last time, well, they defeated Smosh by 59 points in round 1, so a bit of improvement there for Smosh, so they'd probably be happy with that. Now, the goals for Henley: Lara Chihady, Tegan Fry, Zara Kemp, Rebecca Rayner and Chloe Charity. So 5 different goal scorers, and even spread down there would have been a lot to deal with for the Smosh defenders when everyone's firing. For Henley, the best on was Chloe Charity. And over to Smosh, well, their single goal came from Siobhan Giles, and their best on with Charlotte Dolan. As I mentioned earlier, Henley, they're sitting on top just above Payneham on percentage, 6 wins, 1 loss. They're doing everything right as well. They've just got to keep going, and there's a lot to love at their season so far, building on their season last year where they entered Division 1. Moving on to the last game, Goodwood and Broadview. Goodwood, well, they're back to where it all started in Division 1, you know, playing Broadview for their first time. And they did the same thing again and got the win. Goodwood 6-5, 41 defeated Broadview 2-4-16. So a 25-point win at home. Good to see for Goodwood. Now, their goals came through Briella Egberts, Grace Kemish, Olivia McAvoy, Sarah Sheedy, Corey Webb, and Emma White. So 6 goal scorers, similar to Henley. They were just getting goals from everywhere, just a lot of different efforts coming in there from the forward line. The best on for Goodwood, Madeline Griffiths, again, she keeps getting the 3 votes every week down there at Goodwood. They probably, got the trophy wrapped up for her best and fairest already this year. She's absolutely killing it. Now for Broadview, I need you guys to get your best players in because I could not find them online. But in some more exciting news, they had a massive win over Goodwood in the reserves. 50 points, that takes them to 7-0, top of the ladder. So they're absolutely smashing it in the Division 1 reserves. And we've also got a special message for Broadview. We'll say good luck to Stella Ross, one of their star players who's recovering from a leg infection. So all the best to you, Stella, because they'll need you back in that side that's absolutely firing as soon as you can. As back to what's going on in Division 1 for Broadview, well, they're sitting 5th at the moment and they just need to try and keep touch with that more top end of the ladder. So they've only got those 2 wins for the season. For Goodwood, they're 2 games clear into 3rd spot, and the top 3 is really kind of breaking away in Division 1 at the moment between Henley, Payneham and Goodwood. And for Goodwood, they're continuing that good first season in Division 1, doing really well, and I think they'd be really happy with where they're sitting at the moment, and probably their next aim would be to move up into that 2nd spot if they can. Now, Golden Grove, they had the bye this week and they're sitting 4th. Now, everyone will get to enjoy their week off this weekend for the long weekend. So I hope everyone rests up, rest those little niggling injuries, put some ice on it and just have a bit of a rest. When we come back for round 9, we'll see Golden Grove and Payneham face off, Morphettville Park take on Henley, and Goodwood versus Smosh. That's all we've got for Division 1 today, but I've had a quick look around the other divisions of the Women's League, and I've got a couple of things I think are worth mentioning. In Division 2, we are heading for the Valleys Showdown. Happy Valley, Hope Valley, they're both sitting at 7 wins, 1 loss. And Happy Valley, they had a 132-point win this week, had a big percentage boost to take them to the top of the ladder. But Happy Valley, Hope Valley, it's going to be a showdown in Division 2, so we'll keep an eye on that one. In Division 3, this has absolutely blown my mind because you couldn't script this if you tried. Brighton and Port districts have had a draw 4-4 apiece. Now, a draw probably not that exciting on its own, but when we think about what happened in the men's Division 1 with the draw between Brighton and Port districts, same team, same round, same result. Honestly, this is wild to me. I can't believe this has happened twice in one round. Crazy stuff. This is what we love about footy. And with the draw, Brighton still technically remain undefeated in the division and Port Districts move into 4th. And honestly, I still can't believe this. I need to stop talking about it. In Division 4, well, Woodville South, they have taken down the previously undefeated Modbury by 6 points. Now, so Modbury were just, cruising along undefeated. Woodville have just come in and had a nice win there. Now, in round 3, Woodville lost 36-1 against Modbury. So just a real comeback there from Woodville South, a nice win. Division 5, well, we'll come in with our shootout update because we know there's girls kicking absolute bags in this division. Now, surprisingly, no goals for Natalie Lohman this weekend from Athelston, but Athelston still managed to get the win without her on the scoreboard, and she's still on the lead for the goal kickers in the league with 28 goals. And Athelston, well, they're cruising along 8-0 on top, undefeated of Division 5. In Division 6, well, it's all about Marion. They're sitting 8-0 with an absolutely huge percentage, 91.88. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And, well, can they be stopped? Because they've come off this week of a 102-point win. So, Marion, they're the ones to watch in Division 6. Well, that's all from me today for your Division 1 women's wrap and a little bit of a look around the women's competition. I hope everyone enjoys their long weekend, have a bit of a weekend off footy, and we'll see you back here next week.
Time for our Farmers Leap Coach of the Week, thanks to our great support from Adam Jeffries and Farmers Leap Wines. And it comes to us from Division 6, the nomination coming from Jad Gosson. And it's the man, well, he can sit on top of the table. From the Salisbury Footy Club, our Coach of the Week is Brett Joseph. Well done to Brett. Now, whilst all the talk has been Eastern Park, the Magpies have been going along just quietly, just nicely. And after their 14-point win on the weekend, they remain the only undefeated team. Brett's been building nicely after a good, strong last year where they're probably disappointed not to be elevated to Division 5. Coming off a really good education period at Central District where he was an underage coach. Brett is leading the troops just beautifully. They couldn't do any better than being 8-0, and they're a genuine premiership threat. Congratulations to our Coach of the Week, Brett Joseph. Time now. All you Div 3 fans have been waiting for it. Our expert is in the house, Tim Pillion. Let rip with Division 3, please.
Thanks, Tommy. Hello, everyone. Let's start with simply the table. After 8 rounds, we have a clear leader with the Henley Football Club now sitting on 8-0. I'm going to talk more about that on what caught my eye because there are a lot of clubs that are dominating in certain fields. Dominating's not the right word, but let's go. So Henley at the top of the table, 8-0. Lockleys and North Haven sharing at 6-2, coming in at second. The interesting thing there is that Lockleys and North Haven played last game, and Lockleys won by 76 points. So
Benny Herring kicked 10 as well.
He did. So I'm just wondering how certain games and unavailability of players is affecting this whole league. Look, there's a middle bunch that I want to talk about. It goes from 4th through to 7th. This is where I can't get a real swing on what's happening. Unley 5-3, Pembroke 5-3, Seaton 4-3-1, okay, with that draw early in the season, and then a Hope Valley at 3-5. Hope Valley?
Yeah, Hope Valley are the ones that have caught my eye a little bit, not in the segment, but lost their first 5. You haven't seen so many teams respond 0-5, but they won the last 3 and played bottom place Smosh, which would be penciled in for a win. It's going to be 4 wins in a row, and the Valley of Hope has some hope. They're coming in Pawapolo and Taylor and these types. Dangerous.
It is, and Seaton this week end up playing Lockleys, which is a really big game. Seaton have played their first 8 games away, as we said, while they're waiting for their club rooms to be built. And next week, not next week, the long weekend, the weekend after is when they have their opening of their club rooms. They'll be up and about for, and really, really big crowd there. And they play Lockleys, so that'll be a really big game to determine the 4 sides that are going to end up making 3rd, 4th and 5th. So bottom table clash, we go to CBC, we go to Scotch, and we go to Smosh, who are struggling, who haven't yet put a score on the board. The next round, round 9, which just leads into that because we're going to see CBC play Scotch, which is 8th versus 9th, okay? So here's where either CBC can get that gap on Scotch, who are going to be missing Max Marsland, their full forward, through suspension. So Max has kicked over half their score for the first 8 rounds, so he's going to be a big loss going forward. And that gap could really be made early days. Then we go to 10th versus 7th, which you just mentioned. Hope Valley is 7th at the moment, playing Smosh, who are really struggling at this stage. They'll get a gap there as well.
Who's the home team in that one?
Smosh playing
Smosh, okay, that'll help because Hope Valley at home, they know how to play that little ground very well.
Okay. Seaton versus Lockleys, I mentioned 6 versus 2nd. North Haven versus Pembroke. Pembroke have turned the corner for me, Tommy. They're up and they're down. They win, they lose, but they had a great win yesterday over Seaton. So Pembroke are up and running, but playing North Haven. Big game at North Haven at this stage. And then Henley versus Unley, 1st versus 4th. So top are playing the top, bottom are playing the bottom. So after round 9, we get a true indication of the split on the premiership table. Leading goal kickers in Div 3 at this stage, we've got Ben Harron. I think I called him Ben Harron a few times last night. Apologies, Ben. 31 goals, averaging 4 goals a game. Outstanding at that level of football.
Can I ask you, you've seen him play, is he playing deep, is he in the cage, or does he push up?
No, he played deep with Matt Madonu. Between the two of them, they rotated a fair bit. So the game was interesting. I'm looking forward to talking about the game in a moment, but last night, how they did interchange their senior players, it was a fantastic watch. Matthew Min, Hope Valley, after 5 goals yesterday, jumps into second spot with 26. Dylan Fry, Henley, 24. Max Marsland, 23 from Scotch. That's how important he was. And Tommy Pillion at Henley, 22.
Oh, don't gloss over it. Who was that? Tommy Pillion, 10 in one game, wasn't it?
Very good.
And just a quick one, Frizy there. It was Frizy's birthday this week. Dill Fry, happy birthday, mate.
He's done well. I'll talk about that in the game in a second. Mentioned availability of players. If I can quickly say, Max, as you said, suspension will be out. Unley, in the last week, have had 2 players suspended. So they will be missing a couple of on-ballers and key players, running half-backs, I think, with regards to their side. First time in 7 years, Unley have had a report. Happy to talk to...
It's impressive.
Matty Schultz there from Unley last night. They were very proud of that stat and disappointed with what happened, and that's how it goes. And just mentioning unavailability for suspension, Gussie Poole missed another game last night playing for Lockleys against Henley, and if he comes back into the mix, his on-ball nous and getting the ability to get the ball will help them greatly. So
Definitely.
It is going to be one of those things I mentioned earlier in the year. If I can talk quickly about last night's game, the Henley versus Lockleys, it was an outstanding game of local footy last night. The conditions were beautiful. It was a night game under the great lights, the new scoreboard, everything to do with the Lockleys Footy Club.
Quadruple header?
It was a quadruple header all the way through. It was a long day. The bar staff were very weary at the end of the day. But moral of the story is, because it was the inaugural game between these two sides, they introduced the Matt Cowdrey Cup. Now, Matt Cowdrey, as you know, is a Paralympian for Australia, won many gold medals, actually still holds some swimming world records. But he's the member for Colton in the House of Assembly in the local area where both these clubs sit. So he found it to strike a cup, and they handed a medal out last night for the best player on field. So a magnificent initiative. Matt was there with every other person that was there last night, let me tell you. Look, it was a great clash. 2 big physical teams that played to the best they could. I'm going to make a comment about the umpiring last night. It was outstanding. No, it was outstanding.
Will change your pace.
It was absolutely outstanding. Now, the players didn't feel that way because they thought the holding the ball rule was adjudicated a little bit too hard and a little bit too fast, but it was consistent all night. There was any late bumps was paid a free kick downfield. Any guy that put his head over the ball and went hard for the ball was rewarded with a head-high tackle. There were 2 yellow cards. There was a Sam Darcy type spoil late that flattened a player. Umpire straight away said yellow card. That's not happening. Off you go. And there was a sling tackle late in the game where the guy got thrown into the ground and bumped his head. Umpire said not taking that. Yellow card, off the game. And the players adjusted. Any what do you call it? Back talk. Any back talk early in the game, 25-metre penalty. So top versus second, they grew the discipline. They learnt quickly that the umpires weren't going to take that crap, and they played the ball, and it was outstanding. Lockleys were up at half-time.
You did call that game, and it can be seen on our Filming Footy Network. Yes, I'm getting the nod. So check that one out if it's a good game, and listen to the dulcet tones of the great man.
It was a good game. Bray Raffinelli from Lockleys Footy Club joined me. And the first half, we were very professional. The second half, Bray was barracking for Lockleys, I was barracking for Henley, and we talked over each other a little bit, but it was quite a good game to watch. Lockleys were up at half-time. It really was both sides in the first half feeling each other out with a bit of possession, holding onto the ball, a bit of structure, a bit of switching and all that. But the second half, the game changed. They went long and direct and fast and kicked forward to the big clunking forwards where Benny Harron, Matt Madonu, and down the other end, Noah Hannigan took some strong clunk marks, and the goal kicking was there. The scoreboard will show that Henley kicked, I think, 15 points. And a lot of people after the game were saying we had 26 scoring shots to their 15. Sometimes you'd think that 10 extra scoring shots meant we dominated the game. Not the case. Lockleys had an opportunity in the last quarter to get within 8 points but a miss for a set shot. And going to talk about that in what caught my eye about how goal kicking has proven to be a key stat throughout the whole of round 8 across the grades.
What was the final margin in the end, mate?
21 points.
Yep.
20 points,
Second
21
contest.
points, something like 11-15 to, no, I wish I had that written down. Okay. I just want to finish on a good note for some of the other clubs. At St Michael's Old Scholars, the Parham brothers, who have been playing there for many years.
Many years.
Taylor, Lyndon and Aidan, in a couple of weeks' time, again, I can't just lock down when it'll happen with injuries and availability and all that, but the 3 Parham brothers are about to represent the Smosh Football Club with a total of 1,000 games.
That's an outstanding effort. You can throw in some Gaelic football games as well. They're a good family.
And also, I can bring that up with the Unley Football Club, have also with the Cabaz brothers. We've got James, Andrew and Michael are going to very, very soon bring up a combined 800 games for the Unley Football Club. That is outstanding service for families and young men to dedicate their time to the footy club. And I did just mention about Seaton playing their first home game against Lockleys in 2 weeks' time. A big crowd to be expected down there. It's got a great buzz about it.
Now, question without notice, I do it to you, keep you on your toes. When you first came in, you talked a lot about the home and away advantage in what caught our eye. So based on that stat you've just given me, Seaton have got 8 games away, so now they've got 9 of their last 10 at home. Yep. They've dropped down to 6 with a loss on the weekend. How big an impact do you think they can have playing 9 of those last 10 at home?
It was my watch last time I spoke on this program about where Seaton will turn the corner with their home games. So there's no doubt about it. In Div 2 yesterday, Modbury beat Salisbury North, because it was at Modbury Oval. So I'm going to throw to that and say that's Salisbury North's first loss. You go to Modbury Oval, their goal kicking and the score they against the points that Salisbury North kicked is part of the what called
13 goals, 1 will get it done.
Correct, and that's exactly the situation. So I think that home ground advantage where you know the pockets, you know the corners, you know the wind, you know the actual flow of the game is important. I might be overdoing it, but it is a big thing for me. So big watch for Seaton, middle of the table, turning the corner halfway through with 8 home games in a row to come soon.
Tim, that was a great look at Division 3. Next time we see you, it's going to be right around finals time. Thanks again, mate. You've been watching Between the Posts.
You belong in blue. Apply for a career with South Australia Police.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the part that you love the most, the goals and marks of the week.
Beyond a goal, it's going all the way down. Brighton can't afford to rush it. Mark! Ferns!
Plays on. Going into... Oh, there's a Bianca Mark of the Week contender on Ladies' Day.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for glasses down, please. What caught our eye? Well done. Now, we haven't conversed, have we, Tim?
No, not at this stage.
Let's get right into it. Division 1, Port. Third place Port are still yet to win at Largs Reserve. I can't believe it. A draw yesterday with Brighton in what is a unique phenomenon. Still yet to win at home. Have won 4 games away. What do you have in Division 1, mate?
I'm going with the trend across all divs, but Div 1 at this stage. Glenunga 8-0 after 8 games, shocked 6-2 and saw the draw. But I'm also goal kicking. I'm going to go about that. 13-13, 13-13 in the draw. Could have one of those set shots been the difference in the game.
Absolutely, they could. You go first in Division 2, mate. I like the trend that you're going to take us on.
The trend got broken in Division 2 where I'm going, so there's one club in every grade and every division that are 8-0. But it happened yesterday where Salisbury North were knocked off by Modbury. So Salisbury North are now 7-1. Thinking I would be coming here today thinking they were 8-0. Ross Trevor 6-2, Modbury 6-2. Div 2, the closest of that competition all the way through to the end, is magnificent. Goal kicking though yesterday, Goody Saints 10-4. Old Iggy's 5-15 in their game. I'm going to have a trend of goal kicking is what caught my eye.
Yeah, so I had the Battle of the Hawks as well, mate. Interesting to see Salisbury North lose their first game after Matt Gale asked me last week would they lose a game. I did say yes. Modbury 13-1, Salisbury North 9-13, 8 more scoring shots. Nathan Hearing, the star for Modbury with 5 straight goals. So well done to the Hawks. Division 3, you can go first, mate.
Henley 8-0 going through there. Lockleys and North Haven 6-2. Again, there was a great win yesterday by Pembroke. 8 goals, 4. Seaton 6-10, 16 shore shots to 12. That's the difference. That's going to be my trend on what caught my eye.
And Division 3, Hugo. Not that Hugo. Hugo Walter from Scotch. Just a shout out to Hugo. 7 times out of 8 games, times in best players. And there's one other player who's been in the best players 7 times in all 7 performances. Well done to Sam Starr. The only other thing that caught my eye is Old Smoshies 0-8. I don't remember Smosh having such a poor season. They've perennially been a very strong club. So hopefully they can recover soon. I'm going to go first in Div 4, mate, because it's exciting time. Down there at Northgate Sports and Community Centre, Jeps Cross had their first win of the year over Gazer. Well done to Jeppies and Chef Shermer and all the boys down there. Great bingo day down there as well, Mum tells me. Don Barry was best with 4 goals and Matt Sorlinski, the captain, with 5. Well done, Rams, you're on the board.
Kilburn 8-0, keeping my trend up there. Plimpton 6-1-1. Kenilworth 6-2, but Plimpton play Kilburn this week in the next round. Sorry, I keep forgetting long weekend at Plimpton. So the home ground advantage. We're going Kilburn big oval, Plimpton smaller oval. Let's see if it has any trends.
Well, nice little segue for Division 5. I'll jump straight in. I've gone opposite trends to you. I've gone, again, a first win of the year and to the home team. 88-point win at St Dom's Reserves to Blackfriars. Congratulations to the boys from the Blacks. It's a hard season when you're 0-7, so to get that win, again, it's party time. Haynes with 5. Lepretti, I think that's how you say it, with 4. Just going to give them some best players as well because they haven't had a big year. Andrew Dodoni, I think it is. Ben Sanders and Joel Grant Ham. That's Grantham. All in the best players. Well done, you Blackfriars boys. Good to see you on the board.
Kerlite Gardens 8-0, Mitcham 7-1 have jumped ahead of the pack there. I want to make a mention of the goal kicking Portland. Even though they lost the game, kicked 12 goals 2 yesterday, which again in beautiful conditions is important to keep them in the game and keep them so close. Nicely
done. I'll get you to go first in 6 because I know with your patterns, I think we're going to have the same thing here, mate.
Okay, so Div 6, Salisbury 8-0, Eastern Park 7-1. Salisbury play Elizabeth next game, who are bottom and haven't won a game, and we know the struggles they're having at the moment. But I was also just going to quickly mention Josh Rosenthal Fitzroy, 61 goals, averaging 8 goals a game.
That is a tidy output by young Josh. I had the game of the year in Div 6, 7-0. It was Salisbury 14. Josh Mann kicking 4. Brad Pryor, best on ground. But another little one caught my eye, and that was I'm going to call it a big upset. Surprise upset. upset by St Paul's College, led by ruckman Peter Pudney. Big puddles helped get first use to the boys. A 3-point win over Ingle Farm, and apparently the boys were cock a hoop, led by Will Brown on the sidelines. The B-grade boys were pretty happy with the win. So well done to the boys. Certa bonum cinnamon, which means fight the good fight in Latin, because that's their motto and emblem, and I don't think anyone cares. But let's move on to Div 7.
Very good. The trend continues. O'Sullivan's Beach 8-0, Para Hills 7-1. When these two teams met, because they'd broken away from the pack, O'Sullivan's Beach beat Para Hills by 5 points at home. So we had a very close game there. And just quickly, Daniel Wheater, 72 goals after 8 games, averaging 9 goals a game.
Exactly what I had. Kicked 8 on the weekend. He's travelling all right, Wheats. I reckon he's going to kick about 150 for the year. But the one that really caught my eye, Mitchell Park last week, 241-0 they lost by 241 points. Tell you what, a week is a long time in football. Mitchell Park this week, 98, Mawson Lakes 108. That's what you want to be in. Good, close games of footy. Great bounce back there by Mitchell Park. I think they're Lions down there. And well done to Mawson Lakes on a 10-point win.
Yeah, I just had Flinders Uni kicked 9-goal-1, even though they lost, but again, goes to the goal-kicking trend that I've had for this What Caught Our Eye.
Beautifully done, Tim. It's been a pleasure. We hope keep trying to catch our eye in all those divisions, because every week we love having a look. And we'll be back with more Between the Posts. Thanks for joining us on Between the Posts this week. Of course, this segment is brought to you by SAPOL, South Australian Police Department. Tim, have you had fun?
I've had great fun. Thank you very much, Tommy, and I love giving the Div 3 report and representing the clubs.
No worries, mate. It's what makes the show special, having the experts in, and also our sponsors, our wonderful sponsors. Thank you so much for your great support. Now, as the Div 3 expert, mate, you're out all the time having a look at Div 3. Who have Henley got this week? Who are you going to get to see for the first time?
Henley playing Unley at home, so I'm going to get to see them for the first time, and I will keep an eye out on the Kabaz brothers to see if I can catch up with them.
Yeah, 800 games between them. Great service as well. And thank you so much for your in-depth analysis of Division 3, mate. Having an expert that goes out every week and you get to see every team, obviously it's coming along just beautifully.
Yep, loving it.
No worries. Now, next week we do have a break. Obviously everyone has a break. So round 9 will take place on the 15th of June. But one thing we are putting together, even as we speak, is the team of the year. So team of the half year. So all of you players keep battling away, and we look forward to presenting that on as a separate entity on after the next show is released. So Tim, again, thank you so much for being on the show. Any shout outs to anyone before we go?
No.
What about your son? Does he need to lift? Is he going all right?
No.
I'll leave that one alone. I love the way how this man plays down Henley, the juggernaut that is the Sharks. But thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to all you clubs and teams out there. Keep at it. We love seeing what you do. And we'll be back next week with more Between the Posts.